This particular section and video talks specifically about argument. And in an essay, where does your argument go? Your thesis statement. So when we've been doing the standalone body paragraphs, your argument is in the topic sentence because you're only doing one paragraph. However, in a multi-paragraph essay, your argument, the clear place where you say, this is what I am going to prove to you, goes in the thesis statement. And I want you guys to view your thesis statement as your essay roadmap. So in one sentence, which is your thesis statement at the very end of your introduction, you're telling your reader exactly what you're arguing and how you're going to argue it. So this is the most important part of your essay because it tells me exactly what I need to be looking for and asking, does this person, does this student, by the end of the essay, prove that, do they prove their argument? And this is where the majority of the grade comes. If you do not prove your argument throughout, your essay falls apart and so does your grade. So your thesis statement has to be very strong and has to be something not only you understand, but something that you know that you can prove. So if you are arguing that the freedom of speech is the most important to a civilized society, then you need to make sure that all of your evidence supports that argument and all of your elaboration supports and goes towards proving that freedom of speech is the most essential. However, if you suddenly start talking about freedom from fear, or you suddenly start talking about freedom from religion, then you are going off the map and you are literally making your reader lost. Okay, so that's why your thesis statement is your roadmap. And let me show you this in a much more practical way. So our freshmen, and I'm sure you remember doing this, they had to have a thesis statement for their Odyssey essay. And so one of them looked like this. It says, Odysseus is an epic hero because he displays the qualities of bravery, intelligence, and hubris. So if I am the reader, I can ask, okay, what is the argument? The thesis statement should tell me that. The argument is Odysseus is an epic hero. Okay, so then I need to ask, okay, where are they going to take me on this essay? How exactly is this going to be structured? So because this is a very clear topic thesis statement, I know that the first body paragraph is going to be about bravery because it's the first thing that appears here. I know that the second body paragraph is going to be about intelligence because it's the second thing that appears here in the thesis statement. And I know that hubris is going to be the last one because it's the last thing that appears. Now, if they had mentioned hubris first and bravery last, then I would expect that the first body paragraph was hubris and the last body paragraph was bravery. Another thesis statement could look like this. In Fahrenheit 451, words inspire change in two ways. They challenge the status quo and encourage others to be resilient in moments of weakness. So I, as the reader, and even as the writer, when you guys are writing this, ask yourself and check, what is the argument I'm trying to prove? Okay, well in this case, it is words inspire change. Okay, how is this essay going to be organized? Okay, well I'm assuming the first body paragraph is going to be that words challenge the status quo. So all of my evidence needs to talk about and show how words challenge the status quo and then prove that it inspires change. My second body paragraph is then going to be all about how words encourage others to be resilient in moments of weakness, and then connects back to how that inspires change. Now, those were kind of freshman, sophomore thesis statements. In 11th grade, because you have to provide that counter argument. So you not only need to provide, this is what my argument is, but this is how people would disagree with me and how they're wrong. So this was a thesis statement taken from an essay last year. And it says, the media makes America out to be a land of racial inequality and injustice. However, though America is not perfect, the country is based upon and will fight for the equality amongst all, even though it may take some time. So I need to ask myself, what is the argument? The argument is the definition of America, okay? And so some people say America is defined by inequality and injustice, where others say that it's not perfect, but America does fight for equality, even if it takes some time. So I need to ask myself, according to this thesis statement, how is this essay going to be structured? So Based off of this, I know that the first body paragraph is actually the counter argument, what other people say, because of this phrase. The media makes America out to be a land of racial inequality. However, right? So this is what the other people say. However, this is my argument, which means that the second body paragraph is what the writer is saying, what their argument is. And that is that America is not perfect, but will fight for equality, even if it takes time. So for your essay, your thesis statement could look like this. The most essential freedom to a civilized society is the freedom from fear, though many would argue it is the freedom from speech. So notice the argument is, what is the most essential freedom to a civilized society? And I see that very clearly here. So I've told my audience what I am arguing, the most essential freedom to a civilized society. And now I can see what is going to come first. Well, the very first thing mentioned is that the most essential freedom is freedom from fear. Okay, so that is my argument, why freedom of fear is most essential, which then means my counter argument is going to be in the second body paragraph, that others would say it's the freedom of speech, and that I would need to prove that they're wrong. This is what they would say, however, they're wrong. So notice with these two, based on how they talked about their, when they mentioned their argument, it changes the structure of the body paragraph. In the first thesis statement up here, right, up here in the first thesis statement, they present the counter argument first, which means the counter argument needs to first appear in their essay. And then they mention their argument, which means their argument needs to appear second. Here, it's the reverse. The first thing they mention is their argument. Freedom of fear is most essential, which means body paragraph 1, freedom of fear is most essential. And body paragraph 2, according to the thesis statement, is that the freedom of speech is most essential. Please note that by only reading the thesis statement, you should be able to tell exactly what the essay is about and the exact order in which it will be argued. So I've given you two options and sentence frames for your thesis statements. Some of you, if you want to write your counter argument paragraph first and have that appear first in your essay, then your example would look like this. While some would argue that freedom, and then you put the freedom, is the most essential freedom to a civilized society, society would break down without the freedom of whatever. So this means that you're presenting what other people would say, and then you present what your argument is. On the other hand, and this is probably the least confusing one, you could write, if you want to say that your argument is going to be the first thing that appears in your essay, you could say that the most essential freedom to a civilized society is the freedom, insert your chosen freedom, though many would argue the freedom of, insert the opposing view, is actually the most important. So you just need to pick how you want your essay to be structured. Do you want the opposing argument to go first, or do you want your argument to go first? And based off of that, use the sentence frame for your thesis statement.